A question that I've been asked often and hear conversations about all the time is karma real? Do you believe in karma? And I would even ask you, do you believe in karma? Most people say that they do believe in karma. Now, here's what's interesting. When I ask people who do believe in karma, what do you think karma is, or how would you describe karma? Usually, by and large, most people's concept or idea of karma is people are going to get what they deserve. If I were to sum it up, right? People will get what they deserve. So if you do good, you're going to get good. And if you do bad, you're going to get bad, right? It's going to come back to you. God and karma, right? And so you hear people say things like, you know what, they messed me over, but I'm going to leave them to God and karma. Karma's going to take care of them. Partially accurate. At least my perspective, right? My perspective. Now, my perspective, I have found to be insanely useful. There's a lot of utility that you can actually use, implement in your life right now, right away, to be able to elevate on a daily basis, minute by minute, hour by hour. If you understand and see karma the way I see it, because now what happens is it becomes a tool. So, first thing, don't see karma as something that is going to come back to other people. If they do good, they get good. If they do bad, they get bad. See karma as a constant and infinite feedback loop of energy to yourself. So it's out from you and back into you right away. Now, here's how it works. Let me give you examples. The lower your karma, from my perspective, is an active energy state. And so karma is on a spectrum. When you're in a lower frequency state, you are in a karma that is going to keep boomeranging that back to you. You know, a boomerang, you throw and it comes back to you, right? But it's not like if you mess somebody over today, 3 months later when something bad happens, you're like, that's my karma. That's not really how karma works from my perspective. Let me give you an example. Let's say that you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off or whatever it might be, and you just have some road rage, your temper flares, you cuss them out. What you just did was you allowed yourself to get caught up into an angry energy, your energetic state lowered, and now the karma loop that you're going to be in is going to keep pulling negative things in. How many of us have ever experienced this, where you start off the day, something negative happens, you get angry, you get reactive, and then another negative thing happens, and then we say something like, all right, I see, this is how this day is going to go, right? What happens is we're now accepting a lower karmic state. Whenever you engage in or do, whenever you're aligned with a low energy, low vibration activity, you lower your karma. Whenever you are aligned with your highest self, your God consciousness, you immediately raise your vibration and your karma field. Have you ever noticed that if you've been angry for a while, or you had an argument with somebody, you have a refractory period of like a day, 2 days, 3 days before like you shake off that bullshit? You know, it's like after you orgasm, as a man at least, after you orgasm, there's what they call a refractory period, where there's a little while where it's going to be a little while before you get turned on again, right? Where you can operate again. It's kind of like this down gear for a minute that is called, again, the scientific word for it is the refractory period. Whenever you engage, using that as a metaphor, as an analogy, whenever you engage in a low karmic behavior or action, you immediately create a refractory period where you have to come out of that. And so you pay the price right away. Think about watching a TV show that's really depressing or sad. That's low karmic energy. And now you're going to have a refractory period where you have to pay the karmic debt for it to process it, right? If you're constantly using vices, alcohol, drugs, right? If you're constantly consuming porn, these are all low karmic behaviors that lower your energy, and immediately you have a karmic debt you have to pay, right? If you drink a lot of alcohol, you then have a time period where you have to process the alcohol and go from being drunk to hungover to not hungover and drunk. That's the karma, right? When you take any drugs, as you have an upper, then you're going to have the crash. And there's that refractory period before you come back to normal. That's the karma. So karma is not a someday in the future, the universe is going to boomerang back to me. No. It is immediate. That is why if you spend, let's say, 3 days being absolutely dialed in and on point with your macros and nutrition, how you're eating, hitting your daily workouts, maybe doing small little booster workouts, 20, 30, 50 burpees, some push-ups just to elevate your energetic state. You're doing the things that you said you were going to do. You're putting in the work that you said you were going to put in, right? You're working on the important things in your life. And like the Bible says, be renewed by the transforming of your mind. Take all thoughts and bind them into captivity. Why? Because when you have thoughts come into your head, they're not you. We assume our thoughts are us, but they're not. And you have to look at every thought and say, anger right now on the road. Fighting right now with my girlfriend, my wife. This low karmic energy, opportunity, and thought. When you look at them as, do I really want this? And what is going to be the immediate, automatic, and instant karma from this? And if it's not going to be good karma, an elevated state, you just simply bind it into captivity, like the Bible says, and you throw it away. Do you understand? Because you've probably had times like this in your life where you say something like, all right, enough is enough. I'm sick of this bullshit. And you lock in. You cut out negative people. You cut out bad habits. You throw out all the junk food. You stay off of Netflix or TV for a while, right? You just get really dialed in and motivated. Common time that this happens for many people is New Year's Eve resolutions. And so what happens is that for 2, 3, 4 days, you really start to feel this higher level of energy. What's happening? You're having a compounding karmic loop of an elevated high vibe frequency. So karma is a constant, automatic, and immediate feedback loop of whatever energy level you're vibrating at, right? It's not later in the future in some big grand way. No, it is right here, right now. And so what happens is that based upon the consistency in your thoughts, right, your words and your actions, those 3 things, whatever your most consistent habits are in those 3 areas, is where you are creating a compounding karmic loop. And for a lot of us, sometimes we get so deep into the weeds on having I would say, not the most empowering thought, word, and action habits, that even when we quit them and we get aligned with our higher self in thought, word, and deed, it still takes a little while for us to finish paying off the karmic debt before we get into a higher vibration, before we start getting the good creative ideas and insights, before things start to naturally flow to us, before we start hearing the voice of God, before we start really hearing our own heart, before we can get fully present and actually have some peace in our mind. There's a karmic debt we have to pay off, just like when you drink alcohol, do drugs, engage in any sort of intense activity, etc. It's just how it is. So once you understand this, see every single act, thought, word, and deed that you're about to engage in as you choosing a karmic boomerang? Do you want the feedback loop, the boomerang on this thought to come back to you energetically? Because it's just going to come back with that same energy and keep compounding. Do you want the words you're going to say, the words you're about to say, the way you're about to conduct yourself in speech? Do you want that boomerang? And Tony Robbins is famous for saying the mind follows the body and the body follows the mind. And I have found that leading with getting silent, becoming very aware of your thoughts, choosing to not entertain the ones that don't serve you and empower you. 1, 2, practicing as much silence as you can for a little while. And then 3, locking in on your actions, leading with your actions, focusing on daily alignment through your actions with your highest self, with your God consciousness, so you're constantly elevating your karmic loop. I have found that is the fastest way to really start shifting your energy, right? Shaking off whatever kind of cloud you might feel like is hanging over you, or getting a breakthrough, or kind of maybe you feel like you felt like you've been under the clouds for a little while, you're not quite having mental clarity, etc. That's the way to do it. Is really about short-circuiting whatever negative karmic compounding loops you've been boomeranging back to yourself and you've had as a cycle flowing, right? I should say it this way because it's probably depressing you. And then instead short-circuiting that and saying, all right, I know I've got karmic debt to pay off. It might last a few hours, might last a day, might last 3 days, but whatever it is, I'm going to stay dialed in mentally, verbally, and in action. And so then as you lead with, because remember, the mind follows the body follows the mind. As you lead with action and take action that is aligned with and congruent with your highest self and your God consciousness, your mind and your body are going to start creating a positive, virtuous boomerang loop that's going to start making you feel elevated. And then as that happens, you're going to get better ideas, better insights. You're going to get more momentum. The hard things are going to get a little bit easier. You're going to start showing up differently. Your face is going to start glowing. You're going to be able to be more relaxed. You're going to start becoming, as you practice being less reactive to any thoughts that want to hit you, road rage on the road, arguing with the girlfriend or wife, yelling at a customer, whatever. As you practice being less reactive becomes easier. And so again, it's just this virtuous cycle where you keep elevating. That's how karma works. And karma is something that you have immediate control over, and it's something that's having an immediate impact and effect on you in your life, moment to moment, hour to hour, day to day. So become aware of just think about what kind of karmic loops and boomerangs are you throwing out right now, and then change them up. That's why they say it's you versus you, and why the Bible says the kingdom of heaven is within.